Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is your host, King G in the house. So I want to say thank you for watching my videos. Well, today I want to talk to you a little bit about the last video that you saw on my YouTube about State Trooper Christopher Baldner, the New York State Trooper who rammed that family of 4 from behind in Ulster County, New York. If you've seen the video or if you haven't seen the video, it's very disturbing. And the video doesn't entail it entails what the officer did. It doesn't show what he did, but it entails to what the officer did. And it's appalling that this officer is still in uniform. Let me give you a little story behind the story. So this officer had stopped this family of 4 before, or at least a husband. And this time the officer stopped them and told them that he was speeding. All right. Asked them if they had guns and drugs in the car. Something that you don't have to ask, because if you're making a traffic stop, just because the person is black does not mean that person automatically has guns and drugs. But this is the assumption that these white officers have, and we need to call that out, because these are white officers. Whoever's not saying that there's no systemic racism, when there is systemic racism, anyone who tells you any different is just lying to themselves. I have seen Republicans after Republicans after Republicans say there's no systemic racism. There is not systemic racism in this country. There is systemic racism in this country, but they just don't want to say it because it'll be offending people. And white people who said there is no systemic racism, those who are saying, oh, you just give them what the officers want. Follow orders. They don't know, because they have never been stopped, so they don't know how it feels to be stopped because of the color of their skin. So for them, there is no systemic racism. You have people like Candace Owens that says black jails are full of more full of black people than white people. Another one that doesn't know how the numbers works, how per capita works, and none of that. She doesn't see none of that. So these people don't see that, and it's a shame. Because no officer should tell you, that you have to ask you, do you have drugs or you have guns because of the color of your skin, or ask if you have any weapons, or stop you for whatever reason, for whatever illegal, that's not legal to stop you. I'm okay, have the right to stop you because you were going 100 miles per hour. Okay, fine. License and registration. You do have the right to ask the officer, what did you stop me for? You also do have the right to ask the officer. In every state, you have the right to ask for a supervisor because you feel threatened. So here's this couple, a family who felt threatened because the officer, when he asked for a supervisor, went back to his patrol car, came back and maced them. Even I will feel threatened. I'm going to run off. Okay? And that's what they did. They ran off, and this guy hit him from behind. And he's still a police officer. He's still behind a desk. He's still a police officer, while a young, vibrant girl of 11 years old lost her life. She was catapulted from her car. Can you just imagine that? Because of this white cop. And I have to say white because it's happening. It's not. Are there instances where there's black officers doing the same thing to black people? Yes, of course. Yes, there is. We cannot say it's not happening, but we don't see it in the news, so we don't know. But is there black officers going against black people? Of course there is, because you have racism all over. You have black people versus black. You have white versus white. Okay, so let's not take that away. So you see it that way, but in my eyes, this should never happen. That officer should not have a badge. That officer should not have a job. That officer should be in jail. But he's not in jail because he's in Ulster County. He's in Upstate New York. If anyone has ever been anything past Yonkers, New York, and that guy goes Mount Vernon and all that. Mount Vernon, depending where you're at, is also black and Hispanic. Yeah, go again. So Mount Vernon sympathizes with black and Hispanics. And as you go up, Greensboro, Tarrytown, and Mamaroneck, and all that, depending on where Mamaroneck, it's all white. Kingston, it's all white, and so. But you have your black neighborhood, and this is where it goes at. When is this going to stop? You have President Joe Biden, who passed an anti-Asian law, but has not. They said they're going to come close. They're coming close into an anti-policing law, but nothing done. Nothing done. You did an Asian bill way before you did a black bill or policing bill. You did that. Mind you, these are all basically all of these congressmen and women are lawyers, so they should know this. That bill of that magnitude, a bill like that should come up quick. I mean, should have been done quick, because they know law. But that hasn't happened. And here we go every day, and this happened back in December, guys. And here we go every day, something like this happens, and then you guys wonder why. Black Lives Matter protest. Then you wonder why some people burn buildings down. I don't agree with that, but sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands, because we have been protesting for years. It's done nothing. People are still people. People are still racism. People are still racist. People are still dumb. And they will continue doing that until they get it right. You can't be teaching your kid racism. You can't be teaching your kids that black is lesser than white and white is better than black. No, that's not the way the world works, and that's not the way God intended us to be. Racism has always been here. You know, you can see the Egyptians when they enslaved the Jews. So you know that from the beginning of time that existed. But we are perpetuating racism. We're bringing down, like they say, you're letting your mother dictate your feelings, or your mother telling you black people are this or Hispanics are this, and you're going by that. And there are some white people that says, you know what, I wasn't there, so I'm not part of that. I never owned slaves, but you're a part of it when you don't do nothing about it. You're a part of it when you see something happens and you don't do nothing about it. That's you become a part of that. So like my title says in the other one, when would this end? When would these officers learn to stop this abuse? Because he went to the car, he pepper sprayed him, and then he left. If you guys see a video of mine where you can see one of my videos, few videos back, where I put a video where a white guy touched his gun in his car, and the white officers didn't do anything, and he told the cops, if you shoot me, I'm going to shoot you back. And then he drove off. And you hear the cops say, you just touched your gun. Had that been a black person in that car, they would have been shot at. All because of the color of their skin. This is what you celebrate July the 4th for? Freedom? What freedom? Freedom to speak? Freedom to express yourself? Freedom to follow your religious belief? Hello, there are other countries who have that same freedom. There's a lot of countries that have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of religion. But there are not too many countries that are as racist as this country that we live in now. And it's not the country, it's the people. And that's what needs to change, because we live in a great country. We got great people here, black, white, Hispanic, we have all kinds of people. But all those white supremacists that have to go. Those are the people that their minds gotta be changed. And as long as you keep believing that there's no systemic racism in this country, this will continue to happen. Okay? People are complaining about the George Floyd statue. So with the George Floyd statue, a lot of people, even blacks, are saying, oh, you know, he's not a martyr. Why have a statue of him? He was a criminal. But the statue of George Floyd is not because George Floyd is a martyr. The statue of George Floyd is because when you see that statue, you have to understand that that man died in the hands of a police officer. That just for you to realize that there's racism in this world. That we live in a country where racism still exists. That you have to be careful how you talk to the cops. You have to be careful how you move away from. How do you move from the cops? Because if you're black or you're brown, you're subject to arrest or death. To death, actually, not arrest. If it was arrest, who cares? But so that's what it is. I mean, people worship Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa wasn't that great of a woman, and that's a fact. But people won't tell you that because she's white. But look into the history of Mother Teresa. You'll find out the truth. So it's not that he's a martyr, because he's not. He didn't do anything to get that a martyr status. But the statue's a reflection to let people know that this man was on his face. He was face down, all because he was black. And there's 9 minutes and some odd seconds of this man face down saying, I can't breathe. The infamous words, I can't breathe. And he wasn't the only one that said, I can't breathe. Garner from New York, when he was put on a chokehold, he said, I can't breathe either. And they did nothing to that cop. And I think 22 years for what he did, for what Chauvin did, is too little. He'll do what, 14 years, 13 years? And if you see in the history, there are people who have gotten life imprisonment for far less for what Chauvin did. Far less. People with less than an ounce of coke. People with, I saw a guy the other day that they showed, they gave him life in prison. Probably because the third strikes you're out, but still, life in prison for a drug that they didn't even have any weight at all. It's just powder. Think about that. I saw a guy in California 10 years ago that got life in prison because of the first strike rule because he killed a cat. I'm not justifying, I'm just trying to say. So think about that. Think about that, people. This is getting me mad now. So think about that very much. So I do apologize for the phone going down, but this is what this is what it is. We live in a world, we live in a country where this is happening every day, and it's going to continue happening. When they say defund the police officers, it's not defunding the police officers to take the cops away. No, it's for them not to get funds to do stupid stuff and hire more stupid cops, and not to be able to okay, we're gonna, because you don't need more officers. What you need is better training. What you need is officers that use their head, the officers that know how to diffuse the situation. Not arrogant officers, not racist officers. We don't need that in this country. We really don't. You don't need to defund the police, but it comes down to a point that you have to take money away from them so they can don't do social activities and do all the shit like that. So this way this can stop. This way it can stop, guys. So sometimes, it's going to take some rough timing, but I'm afraid of this, we're going on the wrong path. We're not going to the right path. Our young society, our generations of kids, they're going to grow up in a system where these cops are going to beat you up. They're going to beat them up, and then the court's not going to do anything, because if you've never been to court and you see a defendant that's beat up, the officers, the judge rarely asks what happened to him, and when it says what happened, they don't say this should be investigated. No, the DA doesn't say that. The prosecution doesn't say that. Doesn't ask the question, why is this man beat up? They don't care. And they make up the story. So not only do you need to defund the police at a certain point, you have to take away their immunity, like New York did. So this way, this blue wall goes down. Because if you got two officers or more, and one officer is doing something illegal and is doing a chokehold, and the other officers watch, and they don't do anything, they're just as guilty. Because most people say, "Oh, I got white friends, I got black friends, I got gay friends." That doesn't mean anything. But if you're in a situation and you don't do anything about that, and you let that officer, and you're an officer, and you let your partner do what he or she is doing, you're just as guilty as that. You're just as guilty as that officer. Because there's no job let me tell you something. There's no job in the world that's going to make me watch me see another person die because you're racist. If I was an officer and I saw my partner do that, I'll take my partner away. And if I have to lose my job and testify against that, I would do it. Okay? Because that's my integrity, and my word means more to me than saying to you, know what? I'm gonna back you up on this one. I can't do that. This is what needs to be done. This has gotta stop.